Hi everybody, welcome to All Games New and Old. I'm David Rodriguez.
I'm Hillary Rodriguez.
And today we are going to be reviewing Delta. This game was published in 2023 by Game Brewer and was designed by Franz Kuder with art by Nastia Lane.
It's a 2 to 4 player game, and it says it's 90 to 120 minutes. I think that's going to change dramatically based off of your player group. If you have any kind of analysis paralysis, it's going to add to that time. We both kind of have that a little bit, and I would say we were close to that 120 minutes, just the 2-player count. There is a lot of planning and strategy going into this game, so they do recommend it being 12 and up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little hard to pigeonhole this game into being a certain type. Like it's a little bit worker placement-y because, there's 3 sections, and in each one you're going to put down a card, which I guess you could call your worker, and that's going to get you resources and let you take certain actions. But it's also kind of like hand management because you're trying to make sure you have the right cards in your hands for the upcoming turn or what have you. And you're trying to get new cards to, further whatever your plans or goals are. It's just hard to really say oh, it's just this one type of game. It's not. Maybe someone will be like, no, you idiot, it's this. And I just don't know. But
it definitely brought in aspects from different types of games.
Yeah, without a doubt. So before I babble on any more about that, let's get to art and components.
So the theme of the game is kind of a steampunk theme. So the artwork is kind of steampunky, but it's not. The era is a little different. I think it seems like it's more set in the 2030s.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too.
And and the artwork is done in a really good art style. I actually really love the art style in this game. It's really well done. The one small little issues that I have are more with the iconography and board of the game. Mainly on the cards with the iconography, they put it on both sides of the cards, and I'm guessing it's so that when you're holding it in your hands, it doesn't really matter which side. But the problem is that I have when I'm looking at it is that sometimes I think I'm getting double the resources than I am. And so that can definitely mess you up in a game like this. And it can also take you longer to strategize because, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm getting 2 gems with this card. So then I map out everything for the rest of my turn based off of that one card. And then as I'm, going through and, making sure that everything is doing what I want it to do, I then suddenly realize that I'm only getting 1 resource. And so then I have to kind of backtrack and rethink about whether I want to change anything or if I can still kind of make it work or, I have to kind of suddenly reevaluate what I'm going to be doing, even though I've already spent 5 minutes planning out my turn.
Yeah,
so, the other minor issue that I have is actually with the map of the Delta. And it's basically because they have the map separated into 3 different areas. There's the forest, swamp, and the Saltern.
Yeah.
And so the issue that I have with it is that on the map on the board, it's not easily divided. There are some small lines on there to show where they're divided at, but it's not very easily seen. And where there's a lot of your bonus points and so that tiles and cards that you can get will be based off of what areas you've explored. And so sometimes it's oh, okay, yeah, I've explored that area, and it's oh no, I actually didn't explore that area because this piece of land is actually in this area instead.
Yeah.
So I wish on all the cards they're divided by color, but on the map itself it's all the same muted color tones. So
yeah, well, it's the Saltern. I can tell that part because it's very desert, it's yellows and browns.
Yeah, the swamp and forest though is hard to.
The forest ones do have more trees, but at a glance, it's really easy to not realize that you've shifted over to the other.
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things I noticed early on too. Also, like, I'm not always a fan of the boards that are just like long. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have worked better to do it in a more squarish or rectangle shape, but it just because it can be hard to see. It's always going to be hard to see for someone because everything's so spread out. But it's kind of a minor quibble. It worked okay, but it is what it is. I do like the art a lot. It's actually one of the first things that drew me to this game. I think it's really, really pretty. I was showing a friend what we played, and of the gentleman on the cover who's looking forward, she said he looked like a bad word you could just fill in whatever one you like, and that she wanted to punch him in the face, which is not it's not an action in the game that you can do. I don't really have that much issue with him personally, but you can decide for yourself if you want to punch him in the face.
I think it's just the way he's looking, like, because everybody else is watching these mechanical flamingos, and the way he's looking at you, it's a little suspicious. So it's kind of, I can kind of understand that, like, get away from me, punch him in the face and run away reaction. But
violent. I don't understand. I'm like, I don't have an issue with the man, but that's just me.
We're going into bear territory here.
Going to what territory?
Bear territory.
Bear territory?
The man or the bear.
Oh, the man or the bear. Yeah, you're right. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean you take the bear over the man? Just kidding. I get it. I understand the whole... Anyway. Okay. Yeah. So... Aside from that, the card book components are all really, really nice. For the most part, pretty nice and chunky. You got like the invention tiles, and you have the research paper tiles that are all really nice. The Firefly tiles work well. The exploration tokens and the tokens you put on the cards that you play out, because they all look the same, so you have to keep in mind which one was yours. They're boring. They're basically just circle tokens, but they work fine. We have the retail edition. I didn't get the Kickstarter. I was tempted to, but I couldn't do it at the time. I don't remember what I'm missing out on. Maybe there's like really cool components in there, but I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know what I missed out on. I'm perfectly happy with what we have. Works pretty well. There are two things that this game, I think, could really use. One of them, it really could use it. The other one, it'd be really nice to have. The one that it really needs, it should have, is a player aid. Something to break down the turn and like what each section lets you do. Because for everything in this game where it's like, oh, in these two places, I have to do it this way. But on this one, I do it differently. There's exceptions all over the place. Like most of the actions you can take, you can only do it once, no matter how many you can afford. But in the research library, if you want to play out animals, you can play out as many as you can afford at the time. And that's not like that anywhere else. And there's other instances like that. And so it's hard to remember which ones do that when you're still learning the game. Mm-hmm. Like I played partial games solo, and then our first game together, every time there was something that was messed up or forgotten, because it's just like that. The rulebook is clear. It makes it clear, but it's just, when you're in the middle of trying to do that and trying to think through what you want to do in this game, because there's a lot of thinking, it's real easy to miss something like that. And I'm baffled there's not a player aid for this. It's almost shocking. The other thing that would be nice is to have like a player screen in front of you, because you are doing so much planning and you want to put cards out in certain orders and in certain places. It'd be cool if you could kind of, like, while your opponents are taking their turns, because they're going to be thinking a lot, you could put them down as you want without your opponent seeing what you're planning, and get a plan ahead of time, which I think would speed up the game overall, because you're not then stuck on your turn being like, wait, what am I doing? Because as is, I mean, I guess you could rearrange what's in your hand that way, but like I kept, getting to my turn and I'd almost put something out and be like, wait a minute, no, that's what I was going to do like 8 plans ago that I had. That's not what I wanted to do most recently. I think it'd be helpful, and you could put the player aid on the inside of the screen, and you just knocked out 2 birds with 1 stone. The game is as good as it is no matter what, but like those little things, I think would have been so nice to have personally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the player aid, especially when you're trying to learn the game. Mm-hmm. A screen would be kind of nice, and it doesn't even need to be a super big screen, because you really just need to be able to put 3 cards out. Like what I ended up doing is putting my cards face down, like on top of like kind of where the discard, because like in the discard piles you have specific discard piles for each location. And so what I would kind of do is put the card that I thought I wanted to put in like face down on my discard pile in the locations that I was planning on putting it, and then I would kind of look at them again just to make sure that that's what I wanted to do, and that helped. But then I would kind of try and pick them up and put them kind of in the order that I wanted to do them in, because that's another thing that you have to keep in track of, is that like there might be a reason why you do the workshop first this round and then the next round you want to do the library first, and then sometimes you want to do the map first, but very rarely as you get farther in the game you want to do the map first, because you normally have to have hot air balloon icons out in order to actually explore the map, and so you relying on cards that you've already put out. So
yeah, so little touches would just make the game smoother. I'm happy with what they have. It's good, but there's things they could have done that I don't think would be massive changes in the price to it that would have made it a little smoother, personally. All right, so let's talk about the theme of this game. So the backstory of this is that 150 years ago, there was this inventor, explorer woman who, I don't know if she's the one that discovered how to make perpetual steam engines using these purple crystals that are in the game. But, she became an expert at it, and she had figured out a way to use it to power an entire city. But somehow or another, she disappeared. So now you're in the area you're at, and you're going out as explorers, adventurers, scientists, etc., and you're trying to research what was left behind. So you have these mechanical animals. I don't think it's really explained how that happened. I don't know why she put steampunk stuff on flamingos. I don't know. I'm sure it made sense at the time. Anyway, but you're trying to figure all this stuff out. Make inventions, publish papers, etc., to I guess be the new expert in it. So it's a cool backstory. When I'm playing the game, I don't really feel it that much. Usually when I'm playing a game, I've got a movie going on in my head of what's happening. And in this game, I don't really get that. Even though that theme is there and it's visually present, it's like there's so much planning in this game, and there's not enough of that theme really built into it that I'm not thinking about that, like how, oh, my guy is now going across this river to this island, and I'm not doing that, which would be typically what I do, but just not doing it here. Yeah,
it's a cool story, but it definitely doesn't really feel like it comes over into the gameplay. I think if it was something that came into the gameplay, I would kind of expect us to be more trying to more pick up where she left off, which I think is what they were trying to go for, but it doesn't really feel like we're doing that. It seems like we're not trying to build a city off the energy of these crystals. Right. We're not trying to we're studying the animals that are already there, but we're not trying to create new animals. Right. Stuff like that, where it's or we're not even trying to find her. So it's one of those things where there's just a lot of different things that it's a cool story, a cool background story, but when you're playing the game, it doesn't really come into it.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And there's even little small things that they probably could have done to just bring in at least a little bit more. Each of the cards you have, they're named a certain thing. This one might be the explorer, and this one is the researcher or whatever. I don't know if those are the exact things, but if you look at the instructions, it tells you this. But that's not written on the card, which I don't know if it would affect a lot, but it might have been a little thing okay, I'm going to use my researcher to do this thing. Little bit of help, right? As it is, just this is the card that gives me a crystal and a cog and one of whatever resource matches the location. So I'm gonna, you know what I mean?
You can tell what their job is based off of what resources you get from them. But it doesn't really, it still doesn't like really pull in the theme, and even some of the characters aren't like super obvious what they're supposed to be. So
yeah, agreed. But you know, it's cool. Like I like being like, okay, well, I'm using this arrow here to create an invention, and like so that's kind of neat, even though I don't really like feel it. And I'm going over here and I'm using my knowledge to study to put out a research paper. It's just maybe if this game was a lighter load mentally to play, maybe I'd feel it more. I'm not sure, but it's just like I'm just too focused on what all these things are going to do for me and how I need to play them and etc. So it's a cool theme. It's a neat theme. I wouldn't mind if they made other games in this universe. I think that'd be kind of cool. Even though I'm not a big steampunk guy. It's like, for me, it's like fantasy, sci-fi, steampunk. I don't even know what's between there, but it's, you know, steampunk's down the road a little bit. Don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's just not like my thing. But I do enjoy it. I think it's neat. You're just not going to get a heavily thematic experience playing this game.
So overall, I did really enjoy this game. It doesn't really feel like a problem-solving game, but it definitely is having to strategize, and I do enjoy strategy games. The one kind of minor drawback to this game is that like there's some games out there that are strategy games where it's like where I feel like I'm trying to like solve a puzzle where I can get better at the game the more I play it. I don't really feel like this game has that. I kind of feels like it to me. It seems like, you know, the cards that you get might change a little bit of your strategy, but like it still kind of feels like you're playing the same game each time. But it's still a fun game to play. It definitely can be brain burny, as we like to call it. And so it's a game that I wouldn't want to play it back to back in a single like game night.
Right.
For the group of friends that we normally play with, I don't really see us playing it with any of them. There's one person that we play games with that I can see them enjoying the game, and I think it would be fun to play with them. But we don't get to meet up with him very often, so I don't know when we would be able to actually play with him. And then because of how the analysis paralysis, like adding more players is going to end up make the game a lot longer as well. So it's a game that I want to keep playing, but I'll probably only play it, especially given how big of our library is. We're probably only going to play it a few times a year. But it's an enjoyable game, and I'll be happy to play it when we do play it.
Yeah, I really enjoy this game, and it you know, just even the reading the rules, I don't think I realized how much freaking planning it was gonna be doing this game. I'm gonna try to kind of give you a taste of what it's like. Okay, so first off, you're gonna start your turn, right, and you have this section where you're gonna choose your turn order essentially, right? And then so the earlier on the turn order, like if you're the very first possible turn order, you won't get a bonus, but as you go down the thing, you'll get different bonuses. So that really matters because you might really need a specific bonus. That's a tough choice because already you're planning, okay, but if I get this bonus, what am I going to do with my cards throughout the turn? You're already planning out your turn when you're choosing what order to do your turn, like already. It's already happening. Okay. Now you kick off into a thing. Now you have, again, you're just going to put down 3 cards. You know, I'll put one, she'll put one, I'll put one, etc. Just like that, right? You can put them in any of those spots. Okay, but where are you going to put this? Because you're always going to get the components that are on the card you put down, but, you know, some of them have a coin, and that means you get the component of wherever you put it down, which is great, but you're also going to need those components to do other things. And you might want to put your card down here first, because over here, you're going to need a component you're going to get here. Oh, but wait a minute. There's also initiative stars on this card. And if you have the highest initiative in the section at the end of the whole round, then you get the first pick of the cards that are on the top that go into your hand. And so now you're looking like, wait a minute, though. This might be the most ideal this turn, but what if I get that card? Because that card will help me on the next turn. But is that actually better, or should I just do the thing that's the best this turn and hope for the best? And then each section has multiple things that you could do. And you might be like, well, I want to spend this now to do this. But what if I held off and then I can get that thing? If she doesn't get that thing, And if I get this thing, is that going to be better long term, or is it just now? Like, oh my god! Like, okay, I don't even think I'm getting this across. There are so many possibilities and so many choices, and they all seem pretty good. Every once in a while, you'll take a turn where I'm not really feeling like I'm maximizing my turn, but I need to get like the extra gem or whatever. It doesn't feel that exciting, but like, you still need that extra gem. That's why you're doing it. So it is still useful. Everything, it all feels like it's probably a good idea. But you know some of those ideas are better than the others. And so you're trying to figure out what that is. And there's so much to consider. There's so much to consider with everything you do in this game that, like, you know, we have some analysis paralysis, but I think unless you play with people that are really just like fly by the seat of their pants with every game they play, this is going to give them analysis paralysis. They don't usually have it, but they're not like that super like, whatever. They're going to get analysis paralysis with this one if they are trying at all, because you there's too much to think about to not sit there and think about it. It's
yeah.
See, I'm getting a little anxiety here, but it's not bad. Like, I'm not saying I hate this. It's just, that's what that is.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider, and it's all interconnected with each other. And then you have the whole, and especially if you start to think about trying to your initiative and what cards you're trying to get for the next round or what you want to focus on, then your opponent can go and mess up your thing, and then you have to restart the thought process all over again.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to say, also, one of the things you do at the end of your turn is, because you have those, I think you mentioned the 3 discard piles.
Yes.
Like, you take one of those piles and stick it in your hand. So do you want the card that has, or the pile that has a lot of cards to give you more versatility? Or is it like this one that's just the one card, but you could really use that particular thing? Like, what's going to be better? Do you protect yourself from like your plans maybe getting messed up with like a whole bunch of cards? Or do you go with the one that like you really could use? Like literally every part of this. I'm amazed, like, just opening the box doesn't require 1,000 thought processes to go through. It's really, it's a lot. And that's why, like, my brain feels fried at the end of this game. It's, again, I'm not complaining. It's not a bad thing. Like, it's just that kind of game.
Yeah.
It just is.
So overall, I'm going to give this game a 7. I really enjoy this game. There's a few minor nitpicks that I have with it. Especially teaching and learning the game, not having that cheat sheet card that so many games have is a challenge. I think we'll probably end up making our own, because especially if we're trying to teach somebody else. Mm-hmm. But also just because this is a game that we are probably only going to play a few times a year, it's going to be nice to have that sheet for ourselves so that we can easily remind ourselves and pick the game back up quickly, because otherwise I think this is a game that it might take us a while to pick back up, because it's like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot about this rule, and I forgot about that rule, and I forgot I need this icon here, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff to keep track of. So, I don't think of this as a heavy game by any means. I think it's a pretty medium weight game, but there is a lot to keep track of, so...
Yeah, fully agreed on that. So I'm going to give it an 8. I really liked it quite a lot. Like, despite my brain being fried at the end, I was still like, I enjoyed that play, and I enjoyed like the thought processes going into it. There's not a lot of discovery in this game. I think once you've played it, you kind of see what's up for the most part, even though not everything that comes out is going to be the same. But because how things come out can be different, I do think there's a lot of replayability, because you're not going to find a strategy that you can always do and will always work for you. It's just not going to happen.
And that's one of the things that I do really like about and appreciate with this game, is that there's not a clear cut, like, I'm going to focus on this thing. There's a lot of different paths to take to win the game. Yeah.
And I've tried going into the game and like, I'm going to try to focus more here, but it's like, you cannot ignore any part of it for sure. And sometimes just because of like the end goals that come out that you can get, like, you end up kind of like pivoting and be like, hey, wait, like, this is going to be useful and I can kind of get myself there. You can't go in with a plan. Like, you're going to come up with plans as you go, but you're not going to start off. If you try to start off, just, I'm going to focus on this, that may or may not work for you. It just might not. So I like that. The other thing I really like about this is that it doesn't feel like any other game we have. Like there's elements that harken back to other games, but it's not really like anything else. Like the most similar thing I could come up with that we have is the Gallerist, which is a Vito Lacerda game, which if you know his stuff, everything is super interconnected, but in a much more complicated, like far-reaching way.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the Gallerist mixed with viticulture.
Yeah.
It's still a little different, but like it has that component of everything's connected together, but then it has a little bit of that worker placement and kind of playing your steps ahead like viticulture has.
Yeah.
So. And
it's nowhere near as heavy as the Gallerist, but the thought is still, you're kind of accessing the same part of your brain, I feel like, where I'm going to do this thing, but that's to make this happen, which will make that happen, which will make this happen, so I can do that, you know? There's a lot. So that's close I could come to, but even still, it's not like I'd be like, oh gosh, I don't know, they're so similar, which am I going to play? It's not like that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of negatives, just that, much like you, it's not going to be a game I'm going to play all the time, because I'm not always going to want that kind of a brain drain. But, you know, on a personal level, like, y'all might have noticed that I haven't done, like, a board game review in a while. I've done a few unboxings. And that's because at some point, and I don't know why, I hit this wall where, like, my brain couldn't do it anymore. Like, I was trying to learn, I don't remember what it was, like, a pretty light game for us to review, and I couldn't make it happen. And then even thinking about the idea of learning rules to a game just made my brain like want to shut down. Don't know why. Weird. So, but I was feeling motivated. I learned this game. And, you know, if you'd have told me what this game was like ahead of time, I wouldn't have picked this one for the comeback because of how much it fries your brain. Like, it would have sounded like a terrible idea given what I had been feeling. But I think coming back to this one, which wasn't really that hard to learn, even though it could have used a reference sheet. Come on. But still put my brain through like the ringer. I think it was actually not a bad choice.
Yeah, I think this was a good game for us to come back to after being kind of rusty for a while, because it incorporated a lot of different elements from different types of games. So that was kind of nice and refreshing of like, oh yeah, like this reminds me of this game and this reminds me of that game. And then having it be something that, you know, is kind of puzzly and like kind of making us think and use some skills that we might not be using on a more normal basis. So I think it was a good game for us to come back to.
Yeah, I feel like super confident I could take on just about anything right now. Still not going to jump right to Lacerda again, but, you know, I probably could, though. I feel like I could. I'm just not going to do it because it'd be nice to my poor, weak little brain. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I sniffed too much new cardboard. Is that a thing? I don't know. But anyway, so that's it. I'm going to stop rambling because I've been doing that most of the time. So we have an 8 and a 7. Pretty dang good score. If you like real thinky games, could be a good one for you. So look into that. You know, I don't know how successful it was. It was successful enough to finish its Kickstarter thing. I don't know if a ton of people bought it. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but I think more people should try it. I think it'd be good. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe. Click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, I look forward to see you all around the table again at All Games New and Old.
Bye.
Ah, you missed a good burp, guys. It's too bad. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Games. Wait, hold on. I did this weird shruggy thing. What was that?
You? I thought you just got a different Galactus model.
Oh, no.
That was green.
I need a lot of galacti.
Like, it's the zombie version, so it's green. Like.
Oh, no, that's Cthulhu. What do you mean, what am I going to do? That's Cthulhu and Galactus. I'm just a normal man. What am I supposed to do with Cthulhu and Galactus? It's not up to me. It's just what happens. We'll just see. You know, at the beginning all right, you made it to the end of another video. If you want to help the channel out, make sure you like it, subscribe, leave a comment if you can. All these things really help, and make sure you tell friends about us, because that would also be fantastic.
Yeah. If you enjoyed that video, you might like this one.
Or this one.
We're also on social media. There's a Facebook group. We're on Twitter/X and Instagram.
Yep, so until next time, we'll see you around the table.
Bye.